What's up, guys? Bob the Gamer here, coming at you with some more Edison content. So today we're going to be going over my predictions for who's going to win the Nats over the next upcoming couple days this weekend for the Edison Time Wizard Tournament. So let's just get one thing out of the way. You got to dethrone the king in this tournament. Fraser Smith won Indianapolis, followed very closely up by Oscar with Vayu Turbo. So I guess really the deck to beat is going to be Hero Frog. So this is a bit of a newer list, but it's different from the one that Fraser piloted. But, you know, everybody kind of likes to tech out their own decks the way that they want them played. So, that being said, Fraser's obviously an incredible player. I believe he's won 2 YCSs. One of them might have been a Shonen Jump at the time. And he's pretty much universally accepted as the best Frog player, if not one of the best Frog players. So obviously Frog Hero is going to be a contender. I think that this deck is going to be everywhere. Substitoad just got reprinted and re-released as a secret rare, which looks great, by the way. And so a lot of other people that did not want to throw out, you know, the $30 per Substitoad or whatever to get this deck now have access to that series for significantly cheaper. And so I'm expecting a lot of Frog Hero to be at this tournament. So I would definitely not be surprised if Frog Heroes got up there. Of course, winning, you know, something like a Time Wizard or YCS or if you're old like me, Shonen Jump. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with bracket luck and your matchups and things like that. But I think that Frog Hero is definitely a strong contender. But I don't think it's going to win this time. Next up, we'll talk up the second of the big three, Blackwing. Everybody knows what Blackwings are. Everybody knows what Blackwings do. Some lists vary. Some play 2 Vayu. Some play 3. It just kind of depends. You've also got the hybrid build around, but pure Blackwing, I think, is probably what's going to end up taking the event. It's just a really strong deck. It doesn't do anything necessarily unfair, I would say. Obviously, you have Whirlwind, which is effectively like, the deck Stratos. But it's not unbelievably unfair, and the deck can run out of monsters pretty quickly, especially if you stop the Whirlwind searches and they have to burn things with Icarus. A lot of people are on these draw traps as of late. I believe the RBET winner was on 5 or 6 of these, 3 Yada and then some Jar of Greeds. But I don't really know if that's the full play. A lot of people are going to be wondering going into this tournament what back rows are real, you know, an Icarus or Deep Prison or what have you, and what's going to be a Yada. And it's going to be difficult. What do you play around? You know, how valuable is Heavy Storm going to be into 2 Legacy of Yadas? But if you hit a bottomless and a Deep Prison, it's obviously going to feel pretty good. So Blackwings is kind of the next deck that I think is most likely going to win. I don't think there's going to be as much hate for this tournament as there are for Frogs. I think Frogs is probably going to have the most hate. It won the latest YCS in Indianapolis, and Blackwings is still very strong, obviously. It won the RBT, but, you know, the latest winner was Fraser Smith, and I think a lot of people are going to be hating for Frogs. So Blackwings might be able to get away with, kind of abusing the fact that people overhate for Frogs this weekend. The last of the big three, Vayu Turbo. I know, you're all shocked. So, Vayu is really good. I personally, when I pilot it, I like playing this into Blackwings versus being Blackwings and playing against Vayu Turbo. I just think that the deck does very well. I personally like the Chaos Sorcerer over the Spirit Reaper. I know that's kind of a big debate, but I think the deck is just good. Some people have elected not to run Charge and to run 2 Hamster. I don't know that that's correct. I think Charge is just such a power card in this deck. You can mill, Necro or Plague or Sirocco, Vayu. You can mill a lot of different things in the deck that just really helps you get ahead. Sometimes you just lose if you mill Booty Cheeks, though. So, I mean, that's the thing. But obviously, Vayu, it's won a ton of tournaments. It might have won the most. And I think that that's a very strong contender as well. Oscar got second place in Indianapolis with this as well. So his build was a bit different. He didn't run any Caius, and if I remember correctly, he was on Devil Oppression in the main, which, interestingly enough, this build does not have any oppression in the main. So I guess value, they're moving away from the oppression, one oppression in the main, one in the side, probably because of all the mirror matches. You don't really want to have oppression into a bunch of value. And it's not super good against Blacklings. It can be beneficial, but, they can chain block it with Whirlwind and Blizzard. So I can kind of see that. One of the next decks I'm going to talk about is from my boy, a True Hero. So a True Hero is actually, if he's going to be at the event, I don't know if he is, but if he is, that's who I want to win. Only if he's playing Diva Hero, though. Not if he's playing Blackwing. He got second place, I believe, at last year's Nationals with this deck list, or a deck list very, very similar to it. He really likes the Deck Devi in the main, as well as the, the Crush Shoot, the Mind Crush, and the Trap Just Shoot. But, yeah, that's kind of who I hope can win. This deck, it gets smashed by Royal Oppression, and Fossil Dyna hurts really bad too if they don't use the Mally to go into Stardust. But I think that with the extra Frog hate, maybe people won't be on as Oppression as hard, but they're definitely going to be on Fossil Dyna and Vanities. So might be worth throwing in maybe a Book of Moon or two into the main deck, even though it's tight. But if you could stick a Book of Moon in there, it kind of helps eliminate these guys if you can build to a Stardust. And then obviously it just gets over Vanities, but I know that those are really big problems for this deck, the Oppression, the Vanities, and the Fossil Dyna, but Book of Moon kind of helps get rid of two of those. And obviously you have the Krees for the others. Maybe it's worth going another like Trunade or Dust Tornado or something, just to kind of make sure that you're not going to get hit by the Oppression. But I think Diva Hero's got a decent shot. I think it's a great deck. When it goes off, it's one of the most explosive in the format. It's just nasty when it goes off. You can go from 0 to 4 or 5 creatures on the board, all of which are sizable. You can do the 4-star on field, summon Diva, get Gilman, Synchro to Brio, and then Miracle Fusion, and there's 7,900 damage right there. So the deck just goes crazy when it goes off. So I don't think it's going to win the event, but I could definitely see it topping, especially if True Hero plays it. Go get him a True Hero. Next up, we kind of want to talk about Diva Hero Beat. This is the deck that's kind of fallen out of favor. I don't imagine the matchup with this is particularly great into Frogs. I suppose if they, go to Caius or Ryza, your alias, you could do like your whole Gemini Spark shenanigans. But I just don't. It looks like that Monarchs are just gonna feed off of this. Caius banishing a monster and then hitting a bottomless. I mean, that's 2 cards. I mean, yeah, you tribute for 1, but a lot of the times it's off of a hamster or something stupid or Treeborn. So I don't really expect this deck to do a whole lot, but it could keep out some of the decks that I want to mention later. So, any kind of Hero Beat or Diva Hero Beat. I know that there was a build recently that played that Water Gemini Lancer. He's an 1800 Gemini Water. If you Gemini summon him, he's a Piercer, which is pretty cool. Obviously it's a Water for your Miracle Fusion for Ab-Zero. So it could end up doing something. I've seen some pretty cool builds. Like I mentioned, that Gemini Lancer build I thought was pretty cool. It's about the only build that made me want to try this deck. But, going into some of the other matchups, I expect a Gladiator Beast to be pretty prevalent because of how many Frogs are going to be at the event. So Hero Beat or Diva Hero Beat could end up being a pretty big thing. They just throw out 1,900 guys, and that's hard for Glads to deal with. So could be something that pops off. And I expect to be pretty heavy into Blackwings. I know that Blackwings isn't, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a good match against Frogs, but I know that, if they apply enough pressure and Frogs can't get going, then, it can be a really tough matchup for the Frog hero player. So Hero Beat could be a way to counter that out. Next we talk about Titanial Turbo, aka Amaryllis. I think that Miracle Fusion in this deck has made this deck drastically better. Titanial is such an unbelievably strong card, and when you're doing things like discarding Dandelion or milling Dandelion or recycling it with Debris Dragon to just keeping tokens on the field, the deck just works so good. And if you can keep Miracle Fusion on board, you can always just have Titanial out the one turn and then Miracle Fusion Miracle Fertilizer, pull Dandy out next turn, and you have 3 negates off of that. Only on 2 Amaryllis. This might actually be kind of a good play. It does hurt your trade-in targets, but Amaryllis is a brick, and you really don't want it in your hand. But I think that this deck moving more towards, Titanial Turbo or something like that, whatever name you want to call it. Debris Dragon into Dandelion is just really good. Stardust Titanial is such a difficult board. It's so annoying. Brain Control doesn't even out that, Brain Kaya's. So, I think this deck could win, but I think there's going to be a lot of Black Wings. And Black Wings just, they have Bora, they have Arm Wing. They're just going to pierce into this 0 attack or 0 defense and the 0 defense tokens. So, and then, you're going to have Lila's in defense mode from time to time. Not that this can't beat Black Wings, but, it can be tough. It can be tough. I would not be surprised if we saw this top. I could definitely see it in top 16 for sure, but I believe there's only 8 slots at Nats, so we'll have to see. It's definitely not my pick to win the event. Although, against Frogs, it could do pretty well. Titanium's pretty annoying for Frogs, unless they can pop out Ab-Zero. So, it could do something. Dragon Turbo, this deck is arguably the best deck in Edison if you draw well. I kind of think it's a little bit sacky, personally. But, there's guys like Ghost Rider that just smash with this deck. You pretty much just cycle through all your stuff. You're drawing 100 cards a turn. And, getting crazy advantage with Super Rejuvenation. You're just digging for your Heavy Storm. Or some lists play Trunade. And you're just kind of going for that till you have your Debris Dragon. You summon the Debris Dragon. You get back the White Stone. You banish both for Darkness Metals. Pull out like a Blue Eyes. And then you pull out a Drago. And it's just crazy amounts of damage. You can't go Ors or Trag or Fader off of that. So the deck is really, really strong when it works. Like I said, I think it's a little sacky. It's a lot more consistent than it used to be. But I don't know. I still think you definitely need luck for this deck to kind of win a tournament. I don't expect it to win. It could top. I don't know if Ghost Rider is going or not. I know he's one of the best players that plays this deck, but those are my thoughts on Dragon Turbo. Christius Worn. I think Christius Worn could... See, it's hard to say because you expect a lot of Frogs, and I feel like this deck, it could do really well against Frogs. They've got Solex to get around Christia, but, with the Heralds and having Christia out, it kind of shuts off a lot of the stuff that they're able to do. So, and Judgment Dragon's just a broken card. Cold Wave Judgment Dragon it's insane. I mean, you pretty much have to have, like, Battle Fader or something to survive. If they get a good turn off with Cold Wave Judgment Dragon. You summon Lumina and then bring out another Lightsworn. It's just tons of damage. So, I think this deck might be pretty good going into a heavier Frog meta. But I don't think this has an amazing matchup into Blackwing, which I believe are going to be the 2 most represented decks, with Frog Hero and Blackwing. But we'll see. Value Turbo is always really popular too, and I don't know how this match up goes against them. Celestia hitting, Hamsters and Rykos seems to be pretty legit. So I mean, this could be... I would not be surprised to see Christius Worn top. I think the deck is really good when it draws well. You can definitely brick, but I like 2 Christias. Obviously, you want to see it, but it's on Triple Beckoning Lights, so sometimes you can kind of just squeeze it out that way. Or mill 2 Fairies Engrave and have like a Herald play in hand. It gets it out pretty easy. So, I could definitely see this doing well against Frogs. I just don't know how well it's going to do against the Blackwings. They're going to be there. So this is an older list for Machina. I believe they mostly go by Machina Turbo now. Or Machina Turbo. Whatever you want to call it. This deck I think is really good. Recently in one of the RBTs there was a quick draw version of this build. It actually went undefeated in Swiss. It was the only deck that went undefeated in Swiss. And then it lost in top 16. My heart goes out to you, buddy. Because that's rough. Lose one time and don't make top 8. Rough. But I think this deck is really good. I definitely think this could be pretty good going into Frogs. The Hamster can be a bit annoying for Blackwing to deal with, but... And, you've got 1800s, and a lot of the stuff that Frogs is going to do, Fortress kind of can answer. I mean, it's just a 2500, so it can crash into 0 if there aren't even waters, and you can get a plus out of that. It beats over every Monarch. Evil Hero Guy does get over him. Malicious Fiend, but that's a one of. And this guy, I mean, the idea with this deck is just you mill a Machina Fortress, and then you're going to Pot of Avarice back your Hamsters and Raikos and your Gear Frames, and you're just going to have Monster Reborn with, with the Machina Force. So Fortress is a really good card. If he gets Caiused or something, you get to rip a card out of their hand and look at it, and that knowledge is just crucial. I could see this deck doing very well. I don't think it's going to win, but I definitely expect to see one of a variant of some sort of Machina build in top. At least top 16. I don't know if it'll make top 8, but I do think the deck is good, and I think it's certainly capable of topping. Here's one of my favorite builds. I love Zombies. Zombies is one of my favorite decks. So this is Hero Zombies. It's a bit different than I play it. I personally like Treeborn in here. I feel like ditching a Devo with Future Fusion kind of sucks. But, it does make your return really good. You banish the Diva. But I think the deck is quite good. It's very, very explosive. It's kind of similar to Diva Hero in a way. It's kind of got the advantages of Diva Hero as well as the advantages of Zombies. So I think this deck is quite good. It was a gentleman, I forget his name, Jake something, I think. He topped at the latest RBT with this might actually be his build, or very similar to it. No, that's not his name. Silchus Ruin. No, that's not him. But the deck is very good. It's very, very similar, and I think that this deck is just solid. It can just blow up and explode out of nowhere, and it's just got a lot of limited. Look at all these limited cards. Like the whole row is literally on the semi-limited list. Look, there's so many cards in here that are just limited. It's crazy. But I love Zombies. I think Zombies are really good. Obviously, they get hit by Oppression really hard. Kind of the same weaknesses that hit Diva Hero apply to this. Vanity's Fiend, Fossil Dyna, which I'm expecting a lot of Dynas. Set Fossil Dyna, I should say. Because if they just summon it, you can crash with Turtle and just plus. But Oppression obviously hits really hard. Note that they also have Decrees in the sideboard. I would probably also play a Trunade just because you can typically clear out all of their monsters. So getting over that is good. Going into a Frog meta, I don't know that that's the play. You could potentially side the MST and go like heavy Trunade, but the deck is really good. It's about the only zombie deck that I feel has a lot of steam right now. I'm hoping that Beast Mode's kind of my other like undercover pick that I want to win if he's playing Zombies. So go get a Beast Mode if you're playing Zombies. Beast Mode or True Hero, pulling for you. But I think this deck can do well. I would not be surprised to see it top. I don't think it'll win, but I would not be surprised to see it top. And then I've got like two like surprise picks in here. So Glads have been topping a bit lately, which I know a lot of us in the beginning of Edison would have thought was insane. Back in, I want to say modern Edison, like 2021 or so. Everybody thought this deck was trash and it couldn't do anything. And I do think it super sucks against Blackwings. I think that matchup's really, really tough. But you've got a lot of things that can kind of deal with it. You've got sided trap holes. You've got trap stuns for the Icarus. Obviously, main deck bottomless. So if you work them off their monsters, obviously, this deck can do very well. And it's got a pretty decent matchup against Frogs. So that's definitely a thing. It's going to kind of come down to what do you have more of? Do they have more Frogs at the event, or do they have more Blackwings? I think that kind of determines on how Glad Beasts are going to do. I do not expect them to win the tournament. I would be very, very surprised. But I think the deck is definitely better than people gave it credit for. Will it make it to like a top 16 or so? Not that that's going to be recorded. I don't know. I don't think so. But it could. I mean, the deck's got some really sick plays. Cat is just a really good card. Obviously, it's at 1 for a reason. It does not look like he's on the double Sam Knight, though. So it looks like it's mostly just for Test Tiger plays. I know a lot of builds have been moving towards double Sam Knight. It does not look like this is one of them. But yeah, I mean, I think Glads, they could help counter a lot of the Frogs and honestly just wreck Frog players' day. So that could be a thing. The last deck I kind of want to talk about, which, no, guys, I do not think this deck is going to win, unfortunately. I love X Sabers and Edison. I would say they're probably at the top of tier 2 maybe, or maybe the bottom of tier 1.5. This deck is a lot better than I gave it credit for. This is Totagon's list. Shout out Totagon Plays. So Totagon is kind of like the most reputable X-Saber player in Edison format. I know him and E3 worked a lot on this list. And Totagon, dude, let me tell you, man, these Fiendish Chains were killing it against Frogs. Killing it. You can always True Nade to get them back. So, the deck is pretty cool. Personally, I'm a little iffy on Monk. I've tested him out. He's had mixed results. Once you use Cat, he's kind of like useless. But using him to get Cat and go into Arcanite Magician is so good. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Anybody that's going to play Sabers, for my play testing, play this card. This card is sick. It's so busted. It's so strong against Blackwings. It's just amazing. Your Full Home Knight can beat over almost anything in defense mode. And, you could just get pluses off of that. You get back Arabellum and Rip cards, or you can go back Emmer's Blade if you want to make a high unlay or something and blow things up. But the deck is pretty decent. Obviously, it gets hit super hard by Oppression. And even like a Bottomless can just like ruin this deck. And no, I don't think X-Sabers is going to top. I just kind of wanted to shout this out because I think it's a cool deck and something that a lot of people aren't considering playing at Edison. So yeah, I guess realistically what I'm looking at is I think Blackwing are going to take the event. But you never know. I think Frogs and Blackwings are going to be the most represented thing there. So that's my thoughts. I think that Blackwing is going to end up taking it. I don't really want Blackwing to take it, but, it is what it is. No hate on the Blackwing players. So, yeah, guys. Blackwings need they need the Time Wizard win. They've won the RBT and stuff, and won a ton of other tournaments, so they have not won a Time Wizard yet. So, that's my pick, is Blackwing. So, yeah. We'll see what happens this weekend, guys. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Check out my other Edison content. I'll catch you later. Peace.